this way.
Uh-huh. You twirl around.
What? Well, it works.
Okay. It's the squirrel snaring dance. Yeah, I'm just going to film some of these other guys.
When you setting a trap, you never want that hand up high. So it's hard to do
Don't
with
mind
this
if I
set.
film, do you?
No, it's
You've
okay.
already got it in, but
Thank you.
so normally you would take this, reach up from underneath,
Yeah.
and you would kind of set this.
Oh,
Strap needs to be actually adjusted a little bit. Here, I'll fix that for you.
Ah.
Right now. This thing here.
oh, that's that tool you're talking about.
Yeah, so we'll just bend that in just a little bit. Takes so little, it'll make quite a difference. Okay. This is an old lifter and that's part of the problem. So now our pan's sitting a lot better. So whenever you're going to adjust it, remember, always reach from the bottom.
So you don't snap yourself.
Yeah, you can even flip this up out of the way when you're, okay, but
So we should bed around in here more then, but
so
still make it
where's
ground
your
level.
bait or your lure or where's it going? Like what is this that you're making?
Spots.
But
Ah. Oh, you got just covered up already, eh? So what are you guys setting up? Oh, you got a conibear there? Oh, I just wanted to...
Substitute
Huh.
trap for
Those are spruce boughs.
Oh,
substitute because we didn't have a marten box. So
oh,
Yeah.
oh, so that's what that bent
Just
branch is
running
for,
pole,
eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hold in place.
Yeah,
Well, let's go get what's
good,
yeah, that's cool.
good stuff.
Well, I learned how to do that from him. That's cool.
Very, very cool.
See, now he can't jump over.
Yeah.
Well, he probably can. I mean, if that was a spruce branch, he wouldn't.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you're counting on him coming up that
Yeah.
branch. That, yeah.
Sticks are supposed to mimic bait.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's, oh, okay. Good, good. Good you pointed that out to me because I wasn't sure what those sticks
I didn't know
were.
either until he told me.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta go find Jeff.
So, does it matter if this gets covered here? You don't really want that pack there, right?
no, you don't want to pack the top, but you want to pack here so that see, that trap's hardly moving now. Yeah? You don't know anything's wrong. Now you got to concentrate on sifting in the dirt.
Yeah, that's kind of the tricky
Now you
thing.
gotta
Ah,
take some of the dirt that you were digging. Should have been putting in something that you can start covering your trap. This is not very good because it's wet. It's not very good. Not very nice dirt to work with. But if this was snow, we wouldn't be doing this with snow. Because you know what happens when you disturb snow. You go outside after a snowfall, it's fluffy. But as soon as you shovel it, change and it freezes. So you don't want that happening with your trap.
Yeah.
So you have to play with it a little bit different. I'm going to show you. It'll make more sense, but right now we just want to know that you got the idea of how to do this, right? We want to make sure we know where that is. Yeah.
But, and then you stake the trap too, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that already, actually. Eh?
Well,
Yeah.
I told them not to put it in
Oh, I see.
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I'm going to show everybody how to stake a trap. But okay, so now you know where that is. Okay, so now you would dig in here, but you don't have.
I don't know where that's.
Somebody has swung with our spade. So you'll just have to.
Dig it with
Yeah, just so you can show them that. But you would normally you would drive that hole in, probably about 16, 18 inches. Yeah, for a kayak, even 2 feet. Besides you, pardon?
Yeah, the hole for the bait to go in our lure to go in.
Yeah, so on your angle. Remember, a canid doesn't dig straight down; they dig at an angle. Okay, that's really important.
Oh,
And
that's.
when you're happy with how it looks, you want to cover that pan. There's still dirt there. The reason you saw the pan was uncovered was to help us to make sure we positioned it. But once you've done that, now you want this to start looking more natural with the least amount of weight on there. That's just a little fox trap. It's hard for it to come up. Wolf trap will come blowing out of there and just blow your mind how fast that'll come out of there. Okay, but it's okay. This is disturbed because you want it to look like a fox came here and dug a hole. Okay?
So that angled hole you were talking about, that's for where the lure or the bait goes in?
That's where
Oh,
the bait's going to go.
Yeah, and just by that bush there,
It's
eh?
not, they're not using lure here, they're using bait.
Oh,
They're
okay.
using, that's a dirt hole set, which means it's a hole, and you're simulating that another animal came and dug a hole in there and he's hiding his treasure.
Okay,
A
yeah.
coyote and a fox, there's nothing they love more than to find someone else's treasure. Thank you. This is eye appeal.
Oh,
But what I don't get it is, you got it, but you don't, with this trap, amateur didn't stake the trap, the animal ran away with the trap, would that?
they're just not staking
They're
it this
just not
time.
staking it just because they're doing a demonstration.
Yeah,
But
otherwise they
other than
wouldn't.
that, you would.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, no,
But
don't
what-
never put a trap in that's not safe.
yeah,
Yeah,
but if it was for real, where would you put the stake?
Right below the trap. I
Yeah.
put that in first before I even put
Really
the trap
deep,
in.
and then you, okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll show
Yeah.
you so that I want you to see it, but it is
This is
instead
just
of
too-
everybody driving stakes in.
Yeah, okay, no.
And then this, oftentimes you see the eye appeal. So, I just tip some dirt back over top of it, cover it up.
And then where the bone was,
Ours was here in the
what's that? Yeah. Well, the bone is an attractant, and you know what I would do is I would take the bone, I'd stab it in the ground right here, you know, probably about that far apart. Stab it in the ground, and then I'd spray coyote urine on here. Just spray it on the bone, and back out of it. So what he's going to do is he's going to come in, he's going to sniff that, he's going to be mad because somebody else is in his territory. He's going to come in, lift his leg, and then when he comes around to lift his leg, you got 1, 2, 3 opportunities to get him when he transfers his weight to do what he has to do. Okay? Right?
And if I don't usually use this as dirt hole, because I'm gonna have something. Yeah. So almost every set that I do, I take before I leave, I give it a shot of pee. Just because they do. And in this case, it could act as a suspicion remover. There's something there, it smells good, and there's piss. So that's security to them. So they're going to smell the pee as well, and that's going to keep them there a little longer. So I like to have two things. Yeah, two things at every set. A bait and a little shot of pee, or a lure and a little shot of pee. Or I might have a lure and a eye appeal. Normally I'd have like that. You know those?
So where would you put that?
This here?
So you're talking dog pee there, or coyote pee, or any pee?
Give it a little shot. Just something to make it feel. Don't put anything on your trap. You don't want to get the pee across the trap, because they'll dig it. They'll scratch the trap and fire it.
So what kind of pee is that you got there?
This is coyote urine.
Oh, it is.
And then
But you would put some coyote scat there too, or that wouldn't help?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. I try to have two things at each set.
What about bones your dog chews? That's really bad.
It does. You know what else works really good? The feet that you just cut off that coyote skin, bring it out here and drive it right into the ground so it freezes with the paw sticking out.
Yeah.
Remember there's all those glands in their feet?
That's like that Carrie movie, yeah?
Yeah, so something like that, and then sometimes I'll put but if I have a skull and I don't put a skull and a bone at a dirt hole set, I put it at a lure set, and I put it underneath the bone so that they gotta work it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a rib or something, I push it in the ground if you can. I guess we've used up all my bones, but if you can pound it in to get it to freeze in, that's even better. Okay, when I do it for you guys, I'm going to build another one, but I'm going to use wax paper the way you would if you were dealing with snow and freezing conditions, just so you get it. But we just wanted you to see, to get you to actually bed a trap and get the feel of it.
Yeah.
Well, I had quite a time seeing it, so I don't know how you could see it back there. Well,
I just knew where it was.
oh, I know you.
Yeah.
You're saying these guys.
So, but like for everybody speaking, like this is, it's camouflage good, and like I'd mentioned, like I had the trouble on my line. If they're on a run, they're pretty easy to catch a mink. But if you try and pull them away from their run, they're very suspicious. And
Metal.
And the site of the metal, you want to cover that at all costs, right? The bottom of the jaw, you want to clean that up. Put grass on the triggers, right? Because the cold, when they touch it, they're very metal shy. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Everybody's areas will be different, but it's
That's what I was talking.
Yeah.
The longer
Yeah,
grass.
Darcy was saying camera up.
Yeah. So I got my hand caught and the trap's doing this though. So you want your safety on there because I was trying to tuck it in front of the trap.
Oh.
And I hit the trigger and that was another one of my adventures of sore fingers. But just so that's what he's saying. It's just like if it was longer, you can just twist it all up and twist it and make a donut.
Like a
That
wreath?
in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a wreath.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if you are at a bank, you know, if it was mink, you probably would like to be over by the closer to the water. But and then always remember that you're trying to control your approach. They're going to see that and they may not like it, especially mink are finicky. Marten are not like that, but there's a good chance he's going to come here and go in on you. So sometimes just along the bank, and I use marten boxes because they're already there. Like they're easy, but you can just take a spot like this and keep kicking into the bank till you make a cubby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or you can hollow it out and just keep booting with your big snow boot. And then you've got a pocket. Now you've controlled the approach. Always try to control your approach best you can. And then when you put the trap there, unless he can find a way to pull that trap out of there, he's got to go through your trap to get in. That's what you want to think about. At the end of the day, when you're thinking, well, what? I can't remember all that stuff. Control your approach and make it so that the best, almost only way to get in is to go through the front door of your trap. That's the ticket. Well, I had quite a time seeing it, so I don't know how you can see it back there. Well,
I just knew where it was.
oh, I know you.
Yeah.
You're saying these guys. That's why they
Yeah.
call it a pipe.
So, but like for everybody speaking, like this is, it's camouflage good. And like I'd mentioned, like I had the trouble on my line. If they're on a run, they're pretty easy to catch a mink. But if you try and pull them away from their run, they're very suspicious. And
Metal.
and the sight of the metal, you want to cover that at all costs, right? The bottom of the jaw, you want to clean that up. Put grass on the triggers, right? Because the cold, when they touch it, they're very metal shy. Okay, so it's just something to keep in mind. Everybody's areas will be different, but it's
That's what I was talking.
Yeah.
The longer
Yeah,
goes.
Darcy was saying camera up. But
yeah.
Yeah, so I got my hand caught in the trap's doing this though. So you want your safety on there because I was trying to tuck it in front of the trap and I hit the trigger and that was another one of my adventures of sore fingers. But just, so that's what he's saying. It's just like if it was longer, you can just twist it all up and you just twist it and make a donut.
Like a
That
wreath?
in front of it.
Yeah.
like a reef there.
Yeah. And then if you are at a bank, you know, if it was mink, you probably would like to be over by the closer to the water. But and then always remember that you're trying to control your approach. They're going to see that and they may not like it, especially mink are finicky. Marten are not like that, but there's a good chance he's going to come here and go in on you. So sometimes just along the bank, and I use marten boxes because they're already there. Like they're easy, but you can just take a spot like this and keep kicking into the bank till you make a cubby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or you can hollow it out and just keep booting with your big snow boot. And then you've got a pocket. Now you've controlled the approach. Always try to control your approach best you can. And then when you put the trap there, unless he can find a way to pull that trap out of there, he's got to go through your trap to get in. That's what you want to think about. At the end of the day, when you're thinking, well, what? I can't remember all that stuff. Control your approach and make it so that the best, almost only way to get in is to go through the front door of your trap. That's right, that's what I do. The other thing, when you're making your set, always remember you have to secure that trap somehow.
Right.
So that even the largest animal that got caught in there.
Not gonna move it.
Yeah, so a lynx might come here and he's not going to put his head in there, he's going to stick his paw in there and bang, you got him. Now it's become a foothold. That's not what you set it up for, but is it going to hold?
Right.
Them about this. You get a picture. Normally this is in spruce country, right? Normally this would be branched in way better with spruce boughs, but we're working with the best we can, so you gotta imagine that. The only thing that I mentioned to him, and I find this is very crucial, is that if the marten decides not to climb this pole and come in here, he's gonna come in the back way. Right? And he'll come in the back way, eat the bait, go out the same way. And your bait will be gone, your trap will be sitting there not sprung, and you'll be pissed off because what happened. So what I had suggested is if you do this on your line, is to run this pole straight through. Have this much of your tree sticking out the other side. So at the very end, you put your bait, and then halfway between the tree and your bait, you put your trap. So whether he comes up the pole or he goes up the tree, he's got to go through the trap to get the bait. If he doesn't want to do that, well, he's not getting fed that day. not gonna eat it, right? So that's just something to keep in mind when you guys are, if you decide to put a running pole like this, it's something to keep in mind. That they're very, very smart. They will figure out more than one way to access that bait. So if you eliminate them and give them only one entrance, that's the only way you can go. Okay? Rob, is there anything?
Oh, it's great. This, if we didn't have the box is always preferable because you've already controlled your approach. Right? And it doesn't matter which way you go. The only way is it's got to go into that box. So that's why it's really good. And then, but in the old days, a lot of us set like this. But I got quite a few whiskey jack tail feathers in my trap because they land here and then they peck away at it and they pop around here and their tail feathers get in here and fire it off. Magpies and stuff like that. So, like they know after a while that you're putting out bait and they just land from tree to tree and then you put your bait in and then you leave and they come peck it all up and then they get their tail feathers in. But they didn't have a box. So they did a really good job there. The key thing is that sometimes you can take, that's the meat, you can just smear it on the pole a little bit, hopefully they'll pick that smell up. But I always, remember I was telling you, I normally have two things. So I have my beaver meat or whatever, and then I might just take a stick here and I'll put a little lure here. When it gets really, really cold, they'll smell that call. There's so many things out there. There's call, there's lure, there's so many different names, but the glandular lure that we talk about is something that they need to be fairly close to pick that up. Long distance call, they can pick that up from a long distance. So in this case, it's going to go through the trap to get to the meat, but just having that little sprig of that's a coyote snare, so they didn't have a full-size snare to work with. That's not long enough for a wolf, but they were told to do a wolf set, so I should have brought a wolf snare for them. But you see who put it in? Okay, did you tell them anything about it? Like, no, what you're looking for? Okay.
Well, I kind of picked the spot there because of like the seismic line here or whatever. There's that tree laying across there. They're lazy sometimes, so they don't want to go around. So it's kind of a natural around the tree type thing.
Sure.
It's so wide open. It's
Yeah, that's great, and they
it's kind of blocked off here. It's kind of like a natural little path there that you might. Scenario, I guess.
Yeah. So, key thing, I'll squat down here. The key things to me that I've learned with snaring, there's several, but the coyote snares oftentimes will have like a chin lift stick or something underneath, just to discourage them from dipping under the trap. The wolves, I guess I'm too suspicious that I'll give them some reason not to go there. And when you have the wolf that tracks that come right up and then they stopped and left, that's so disheartening. But with a coyote, you can crowd them up a little bit more. But the key thing to me, or one of the main things that I have learned when we talk about loop size and great big loops and smaller loops and stuff, I have found that the most important thing is the height off the ground. So you're not going to carry a tape measure with you. So you're looking in your book, and if it says 16 inches off the ground, that means from the bottom of your loop. So measure 16 inches and find out where it is on your knee. So then that's you don't have to always wonder. And after you've set a few, you'll be able to tell just by looking at it if you're comfortable with it. But for me, I like to be right up to my knee for the bottom, with my little legs, right up to my knee. And the reason I did that is you're trying to get the wolf to put his head through the loop. But the most important thing, once the first part of his head comes in, remember I showed you that? Is that you're going to catch him here so that the snare starts to close, not back here.
Uh-huh.
So when I learned that was the coyotes would come into my wolf snares, into my bait. And every time I catch a coyote, and I'm thinking, the coyote could have ducked right under that. But he didn't, because when he went through there, and my theory is because they know they're not supposed to be here. And if those wolves see them, they're going to die.
Yeah.
So they got to be on their toes. So I think they're carrying their head higher. They're sniffing the air and they're coming in. I don't know. But what I know is that almost every time I get a perfect kill on a coyote. And you know, that's a big loop for a coyote. Like I make mine, this one won't go big enough for how I make mine. So it's the height off the ground is very important. And I believe that's because you want to catch them. As soon as they touch it underneath the chin, you want this thing to drop. And then if he flips out and goes backwards or forward, doesn't matter.
So as it was set up here, it was too low in your opinion then? It should have been, as it was set up here, you're saying the hoop should have been higher up then, eh?
I would have.
Yeah. That's actually what I was thinking too.
I'm not, just because I'm the instructor doesn't mean that I'm just telling you that that's what I've experienced thus far. I've tried a lot of different things, and I'm finding the height off the ground. So if you like to watch Morley Smith, apparently he was on Trapping Inc. And Morley makes a loop you could pretty near drive a quad through. And I thought, whoa, I never. But I talked to him. I sat with him, and he said, Ross, the key thing is the height off the ground, which I agreed with right away. I can't make myself make loops that big. But the point is that he's killed more wolves. Probably there's few people in Alberta that have taken more wolves than Morley has, too. So height off the ground is very important. The next most important thing to me is that this doesn't move. He's got that tight, or they have that tight. So if this was all floppy here, then it'll swing in with them. And you don't want it to do that. You want this to hold so that this drops right away. Okay, and then once he gets caught, we could care less what this does anymore. It's already done its part. It's got it anchored to the tree, right? So the height off the ground, as long as there's no, this is a good stout tree. You just don't want that tree to give. Okay? What else can I?
Any questions?
So if you're setting a snare and you're putting the snare wire up higher, do you have a certain height that is the standard height that you put it at, or?
The anchor?
Yeah, the anchor, yeah.
Well, no, when, like when we were talking snares, I was telling you that most of us were anchoring high because we found that if we anchored here, when the wolf got caught, the snare's sitting right over his shoulder, and the first thing he does is he spins, is he gets that snare in his mouth and starts chewing. So that was the reason. And so we started saying anchor high, and that's still in the regulations because that was still considered best practices. But that needs to change now. The most important thing is that you want a good solid hit. So on a great big, you got a 12-foot, like my wolf snares are 12 feet long. So if you got him anchored up here, and he runs, and he hits the end of the slack, it's going to lift his front legs off the ground. Right? So now he can't utilize as much power if he hasn't popped that. They don't all react the way you would think. We think they just put their head in and say, oh my God, and they run for the airport, and they don't always do that. They may back up, or they may smack into the tree, or wrap themselves up. There's all kinds of things that can happen. Your job is to make it, set it up so that hopefully that trigger is going to pop at the moment of most impact. I hope this is making sense to you. So what I'm saying now is that I would anchor. I'm not concerned about anchoring low. So I don't know, we don't need a a set height. What we need, because on a thick tree, you know, you could set it up here and it wouldn't matter because it's solid. But on a thinner tree, it'll start to bend and fishing rod, and you'd want to be down a lot lower. Is all I'm saying.
You'd probably want to improvise too, like if you had a killer trail that you can't walk away without setting a snare on there, it's a smaller tree and you want to set up a noose there, you just
That's
get that
exactly
low.
it.
The urine post. Now, same kind of deal is like we're going to utilize the grass, utilize the tree. We're controlling his access. He's going to come in this way, that way. Normally, what I would do is if it's an old burnt stump on your trap line, or you know, just somewhere that they mark their territory on, right? We're going to use the stake as the pissing post right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But what he's going to do is, and they got the good distance, right? You want to be, you know, some guys go 2 hands, some guys go as wide as their hands can go. But you want to be the distance that when he comes in, you got 1, 2 full front feet, or you got the third back foot that when he comes in, he ain't gonna like what this is. There's urine sprayed all over here. He ain't gonna like it. Right? He's gonna want, and you got the 3 opportunities to pick him up when he comes in to remark this and tell the guy that did mark it to get the hell out of his territory, kind of deal, right? So we didn't have, I explained to them, we did not have some softer dirt here to work with, and I apologize for that because it's fairly muddy stuff. But the trap is pretty solid, but it does wiggle a little bit, right? And that's something you guys are going to want to avoid when you set them. Make sure they are solid. Because if it wiggles, they got lightning reflexes that they can pull out of there. And like I had explained, usually a little bit of peat moss or wax dirt or something underneath gives you the ability to really bed that trap nice, right? Otherwise, I really like this set. This will be a set that'll be definitely used in my tool belt. Is a scent post set. It's one that you target the territorial instinct of the animal, and I think it'll be a good set to have in your tool
Around
belt.
with this in my way. I'm going to get it so the trap isn't moving, and I'm really happy with how that trap's sitting. I drove my stake in, if that's the way you're doing it. I got all of that ready, and then just before I go to start covering the trap, I put this down and then push the trap on top of it, because it's already made its mold in there, right?
Yeah.
So when I make a set, this, you should have a pad for yourself. These,
Keep the scent off.
I sell these for $39.99.
Special lucky pads.
On sale, yeah. Guaranteed to catch you over.
Fur prices have been the shits lately.
Price of carpet just went up.
Is that just to keep your scent from transferring there too much, or just to keep your knees
Well,
dry?
it's just nice to. I had a.
Yeah, you
what
worked.
I had before had a. What do you call
Those
that stuff?
Child toboggan
It's like
things.
a truck tarp
Uh,
on one side. It's just something for me to kneel on. Less
Yeah.
chance of.
Because you're doing this in the snow most likely.
A lot of times you are.
Yeah.
So now I got that ready.
Who's got a trap?
Oh, there's a trap.
Oh, perfect. So when you set your trap, you have a. I got stuff strewn out all over the place now instead of in one spot. I have 2 things that I take on a dirt hole set. I take a bucket, this bucket with all this paraphernalia, less the mosquito spray, and that. And then I take one tray. Did we bring that other bucket with the peat moss?
I think that one stayed at the truck.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So when we set our trap, this is a Bridger trap. Excellent trap. Always put your stuff away. If you just throw it down in the dirt, you're gonna be losing all your gear. So best to put your stuff back in your tray. Take your trap while you're messing with it and flip the side up. Less chance of you getting caught in your own trap. Okay. This is always nice to have these roots right there. We gotta play with this a little bit. We want to see how big a hole we need here for my trap. I like that. Not too bad.
Maybe you don't want to have your traps the other way, yeah?
I like to have the dog on the inside.
Huh.
Okay? I gotta still adjust the pan and stuff like that, but I just want this trap to, so that's fairly close. I like that, but now I gotta dig myself a hole. So this loose stuff, instead of making a square like they show you some guys do it on the internet, I make a bowl, and it hugs your trap nicer. That's what I've found. I tried all them other things, and I find that works the best. Anyway, then we stake our trap. So we would, in this case, this one's set up to double stake. Okay, so we would scissor those in like that into the ground. So, and then I would drive that, or I might only need one.
If this spot's as hard as that wolf trap we put in the other day, you only need one.
Yeah, we drove a flipping wolf one in. Jeff drove it down about 18 inches, and I said, no. I don't think we would have ever been able to get it out, but we ended up cutting it off. So I would drive that down, right down. Okay? And that's our anchor now. Because this soil's really dense, so it's one stake would hold a coyote. If I wasn't sure, I would put two in like I showed you.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to drive it all the way down there, but that's what we would do. Then we would take our trap and bury the rest of this paraphernalia. Okay, so everything's under the trap. The stake, the chain, everything. Get her looking pretty good. So the wax paper is put in here so that you're creating a barrier between your steel and your dirt. As you know what steel does in wet or in cold dirt, it sticks. And you don't want your trap to stick. So that's what you're doing. Okay, this. Now I got to filter it up.
So you're not having that wax cover every piece of underneath exposed part of the jaw.
You should.
You
Yeah,
should,
I didn't cut the piece big enough, but that's what I'm saying.
Cut
Cut
it
it
across, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you don't want your metal on that. Now we got a bed. We got to get it so it's not going to rock. Sometimes sometimes it'll try your patience. Okay, and then you would take another piece that's the same size. You trap. This, if you overdo this, you leave a chunk sticking up and you don't notice that the canids will, and they'll dig it.
No.
So that's why it's better if you, some guys use coffee filters because they're already round.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For a small coyote trap, they work pretty good.
You put the foam underneath the trigger when you
But you don't have to if you're using wax paper. The foam that he's talking about is, so we might put a piece of foam underneath our pan to stop dirt, but foam sucks up water. So you have to decide. You just need
Put a little piece of wax paper over top of that piece of foam too, so it wouldn't stick. Maybe.
yeah. So this is a bit big.
What he's saying, it soaks up water. When it freezes, it's hard like rock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the foam becomes hard like rock. Yeah.
And now I made it too big. And they'll dig that up.
Maybe.
Okay, so, but you want to make sure you have your trap bedded at that point.
You should have a pair of scissors with you too.
This is your dirt. This isn't going to give us much to work
Cut it
with
before you go.
Yeah.
because it's
I
not,
would.
Yeah.
it's wet.
Have it.
So this is not ideal situation. But then we just want to work this over top. I've got way too much here. Okay, so that's all you do. You just cover that up so you're happy with it. Shouldn't have given me these gloves. Borrow. I may be buying you a new one.
$99.99 though.
Well, I may be able to offer a trade.
You trade for a piece of carpet, eh?
Oh, don't say that. I think I got this at the dollar store or something like that. When I suddenly realized I don't even have a flipping kneeling pad anymore. Okay, so we know where we put where our pan is. That's what they're trying to show you. When you see in the picture, the pan is exposed. That's just at the end you want to cover it. It's just there so that you make sure you position what you're doing in conjunction with where your pan is. Okay? So you might have a little pebble, whatever you want to do so that you don't lose track of. And you don't want any more dirt than is necessary because it has to come through that. All right.
Now, if you're doing it in the winter, in the snow, you don't really have access to dirt though, eh?
Nope.
So then you're just going to use
You're going to
Just
bed
snow,
it in
eh?
the snow.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Just to be sure.
Yep. Snow is frustrating. Very frustrating. And as I was telling the group here, you know yourself, if you could put this trap in, bed it, and then walk away and let an inch of snow fall. Perfect. Because the molecules haven't, you know what snow's like when you first float in the morning. It's beautiful, but as soon as you move it, it freezes. Changes the molecules right there. So
So at this time of year, you would never use that wax, of course, then, eh? No, it's
Yeah.
only for sub-zero then. Okay.
the wax paper,
I
Yeah,
would use.
yeah,
well,
it's
you
only
can't. You won't hurt using wax paper.
yeah, but it doesn't do you any good at all, eh?
Well,
Right now.
If
Eh?
it freezes here tonight, it will.
Well, yeah, I guess it could. Eh?
Yeah, I think.
If it drops down to -4.
So it's not that bad of an idea even now at this time of year, eh?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, then the idea would be from here, you might have a bone laying here, or you might have a coyote foot. We broke it off last time, but the paw is sticking up, and we might drive that paw in there. coyote's foot sticking up out of the dirt, you're going to get interest in that.
Yeah.
Just like Carrie.
Okay, and then you try to clean this up as best you can here. But now if I was going to lure this, then I would take this is wolf gland. So if it was for a wolf, then I would probably take my gland lure and either put it in the notch of this or on the foot, something like that. So that I want his nose here. So you ain't thinking about his feet anymore. I want his nose right in there. And then once I put that in, then I almost all sets. I take a little shot of pee, just give her a quick shot. Just a suspicion remover. You know when
I think I can smell that pee now.
yes, grandson is helping us set up.
Yeah, now I can smell. Oh, that's a cigarette.
Can't remember where we were. And he was doing so good, we said to him, you should help us, you know, we can sell some of the lures and some of that stuff. And so he says, certainly. He says, how hard can it be? Excuse me, can I interest you in some wildlife tests? that kid's gonna go places. Yeah. But I like it. So I change it up. You know, I'll have fox and wolf, and they're all connected. They're all connected, so you don't have to say, well, I have to use wolf urine at a wolf set. You could use coyote if that's what you got. It's still a suspicion remover.
Even your own home family dog, I guess, eh?
Yeah, then it's of interest.
Yeah.
The coyotes, they know each wolf by its scent and vice versa. So what's the main predator on a fox?
Coyote.
Coyote. So
Yeah.
the main predator on a coyote is a wolf. So the wolves don't seem to bother the fox too much. Maybe they don't consider him a threat of any kind. But boy, they'll sure. You ever seen the pictures on the internet of wolves killing a coyote? Oh my God, they're rough. So, what have I forgot? So that's
distance
it.
off the tree a little bit. Right? You don't want it. And when he starts bouncing this, like this snare moves over,
Oh yeah.
right? The front one stays fairly solid, but you want these to be able, because a lot of times you'll get one or two, they'll start coming up and then they'll turn around, they'll start fighting each other and they'll fly up the tree. And you want your snares to be able to hold shape and stay there long enough when he comes in and knocks them off, right?
Try not to work with it that much. Like the least you touch it,
Yeah.
it's very easy to kink.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to get back to a nice perfect loop again.
Yeah, and like you got good length here because when he comes off, there's no way he can get back to the tree. So when he's
Oh yeah, you want
hanging, he's hanging.
to have that length.
Right, if you got the short little loop, if it spins, he may be able to pull himself back onto the tree and then he'll chew the wire and he's gone.
Kind of hard to get that length and then also have it not jiggle though, eh?
Yeah.
Because you got that extra length and now you're setting a
Yeah.
hoop above there and when he walks across the
Yeah.
tree then he's...
Yeah, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll turn this side, right?
Oh yeah.
Then you can make your snare a little shorter. When he comes off, this will spin
Yeah.
and he'll be hanging down below here.
Yeah,
Right.
oh, okay. Yeah.
That's just something to keep in mind. The circles, the size of these circles and squareness to the pole is very critical when you're snaring squirrel. I don't know a lot of people that do snare squirrel because it's it's a fair bit of work.
Yeah.
You know, it's very extensive, but
There's a lousy critter here.
What's that?
They're the lousiest critter ever.
But they, you know, it is a fur-bearing animal and it still needs to be managed, right? So
Yeah.
They got lots of bugs. They got lots of bugs.
No, that's where I said it, you'll catch him. He's actually set, me and my cousin set marten box right on the tree because he told me he'd have catch a lynx, he'd take the lynx, cut the leg off and use it for bait, and that weasel was eating that. Couldn't get it off the pole with wire, so he'd eat it right enough. There's nothing left but the bone. So he had to do something.
yeah, a lot of times you guys, when you see the lynx tracks, they got holes in the snow. You know, they'll poke their head out, they'll look around, they'll dip back underneath the snow, run down, come back up, dip back down, run. They're all under the snow, and if you can see where they've got their holes in their track, you put that there with a tasty little chunk of meat.
And I like that trigger that they got in here because there's no going past it. They got to grab that and pull it, try to get it off and
Yeah.
right behind the head.
Yeah, that's a very humane one. Like we had showed on the video, some of those ones are coming with that big orange,
They get
that
past
big
it.
yellow paddle. It's not so bad if you use that and hook your bait into that, but some have used that as a foot pan and put the bait in behind it. Well, now you're not catching the weasel ethically. You're catching them back here, and it's a little bit of a cruel way to go, but just
And the perfect width he's got for that track too, because if your box is too wide,
yeah, you'll
goes
get up
right
and
around,
around.
and then you'll catch him coming out, and you'll have his back end,
Yeah.
and they don't smell too pretty.
Yeah. No. No, them scent glands are. It's the
Yeah.
weasel family. They stink. But I like these little boxes. This is a good set. I like this set. It's same kind of deal as a marten. You're controlling the approach. He's only got one way in to get the food, right? So.
The reason for the sticks is you find some places that box, you can't get it level enough, so there was a little bit of rock, so I put the sticks on this side to hold it from moving when he's going through the front, or,
Yep.
or something else. Going.
Yep. Absolutely. Any questions on that, guys? Pretty straightforward.
Just remember when the fox comes, and the dead weasel's halfway out of that
Yeah.
hole, he's gonna pick up the weasel and drag it, and the fox will scare him. He'll come back and he'll drag that off and chew on that like a popsicle, and you lose your box.
Bigger
The
log.
box will want to wire him down.
Fox will do that, Russ?
Yeah, it's happened to me. I have a picture. The whole thing was gone, and but it was in the snow, and I could see it. And he went off a ways. I guess it was more comfortable there, and then he laid down and chewed on it.
Yeah. Those traps really hurt the finger.
Just bedded it down, made it flush with the ground, beat it down with some dirt, whatever loose stuff, put it over top. You'd have, like the other gentleman was saying, you don't want to make it so they can come in the back and make sure they can see it both ways, come in the front.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is if they can see the bait but they can't access it, they're more enticed to come in through the hole, right?
Place the trap just beyond those first couple of sticks?
Yeah, right in between the two stuff.
So you putting those
Step
sticks there
over on the
to
sticks.
make them step forward and not step on the
So you
sticks?
kind of know where the trap is as well,
Oh,
right?
for yourself too, eh?
Right in there, yep.
Uh-huh.
You know, like I say, they'll step over it.
Yeah, they don't want to step on that stick. So, yeah.
Find it, Jeff?
I got it. What one is that?
Pardon me?
Is that the number 3? The rubber jawed one?
Yes, it is.
Okay. See, and this is something that we were talking about before too, is you look at this, right? You don't want this trap
Yeah, it wiggles a bit,
to
eh?
wiggle there, right? But with usually peat moss, usually we got a pail of peat moss. I can't stress that enough. if you're gonna do some foot holding, take some peat moss with you, some dry peat moss, create a bowl, and it'll bed your trap way nicer. Like it's,
Well, peat, yeah. Or anything really. Peat moss is just easy to get, but sometimes peat moss will. But that's what he means. Sometimes you got to bring your stuff. We were just talking about the ant hills. And the ant hills in the fall when the ants leave, that stuff is dynamite
Oh, I suppose, eh?
for foot holding. Yeah.
What about sphagnum moss?
Well, sphagnum moss is great, but it's no good for bedding.
It's too spongy?
Because it moves
Yeah,
like a sponge.
yeah. Because there's lots of that around.
Now, would you dip scent in some of them branches sticking out, or you just have your...
what I would do is I would put you have a chunk of bait here,
Yeah.
but I would be putting lure on the back, whether it's on a short little diagonal stick stabbed in the ground like this. I gob that on there. But it gives him something to focus on.
Right.
Try it out at the right level.
But you don't want it far enough out that he can reach it with his nose before his foot's where you want it, right? You want it in the back so that he has to commit full distance to get into it.
If you ever watch a house cat, if they're somebody's going to play with it and make something move or something like that, they all of a sudden, if you watch, their pupils will dilate. They're just in and out like that, and they hone right in on it. Even the big cougar, all of the cat family does that. They have incredible. And so when we went after all those lynx up there, that's when I really paid attention to that. And so we used a rub paste, and I had a stick, about the size of my thumb, and it stuck up, like what Darcy was telling you, up nice eye level. And if you had a piece of that wool would work really good, or oxidized grass, and I gooped it's a paste they want to rub their face on. And when they come up, it's in the center, so I get down at eye level to the snare, and he looks right through that snare, and he's dilating his pupils onto that thing, and they seem to everything else evaporates except the very thing that they're. You can get away with that with lynx as long as you give them a place to put their foot. So if it's a snare, you set them up to catch them by the foot here. It's a little bit different, but if you had a snare there, then you want to make sure that you've got a place. They don't want to step on any sticks. And if you mess this all up, all the better. They're curious. It doesn't matter if there's stuff tore up and stuff like that. You probably have a little wing or something flapping here. So don't worry about that. Just make sure there's nothing here. It's so important where they place their feet. That's the big thing I learned about the cat. And then give them that spot where your snare is here. Even if you have two sticks across like that, give him a place to place his foot. If you can get him to place that foot so that he commits, remember his neck's really short, you can get his head in there because he's staring at that thing. You're going to get him. That's the thing. Make it easy for him to go in that way and give him a place for his feet. But you really got to bet a lynx trap because that moves it all like.
The cat is one that when they come down, they'll hold their foot, they'll hover there until they start. The minute they start to commit and it moves, they're lightning fast.
And then you put, if you can, you put another snare around the back side of this.
That's what the other gentleman was saying too. Put snares around, and
Yeah.
you'll circle that, and then next you know you'll get them in your snare too.
Yeah, and it'll also keep them from cannibalizing because they're really bad for that. Hot liquor.
Might have two when you show up. One in the trap.
Say, Ross, you were saying something before about we don't have any spruce trees here, but you were going to show us something about setting for spruce.
Well, what I meant by that was that a spruce tree is always I make my cubbies under spruce trees. I make my wolf sets under spruce trees. Foot holding, not snaring, but when I was talking about foot holding, there's that big old spruce tree. Sometimes you could have a foot of frost over here and there'll be none there. No frost, you know. It's really nice. So
And you get that nice
then when you get
dirt
all
to
that
sift,
snow,
yeah.
that spruce tree's keeping your set clean.
Yeah, yeah. So
And then when you have a spruce tree, instead of driving a stake, so how do I show you? You know how a spruce tree, oftentimes the roots come stick right up above the ground? They come out of so the tree's sitting like this, and then the roots are V'd out like that.
yeah, yeah.
So you make a dirt hole set right in the V. It's perfect. It brings their feet right in. And then, but it's hard to trust a stake there. So I take one of those, you know those, I'll show you in my thing there. They're a
Eyelets.
threaded eye, like a lag bolt, only with an eye on it. And I thread that sucker right into that root.
Oh yeah.
You can hook your winch of your truck on that thing, and you'll drag your truck across. You won't pull that sucker out. There's something about the fiber. You winch that sucker in there, and so then I don't even have to drive a stake in the ground. Does that make sense?
But you don't mind the fact that that bolt is exposed or something like that, or that has to be covered, of course,
Oh,
too.
I cover it.
Yeah.
I don't want that shiny thing there.
Even with Lynx, you gotta. They would be bothered by that.
Lynx, I don't even worry about. Like the lynx, they die so fast.
Curiosity killed the cat.
I just make a drag, like a green pole. Even got to be careful because if you catch a non-target, but lynx, if it's a green pole and it's that big around, I shove that in the ground and then I attach the snare to it, and then they just get tangled up in it. And then I always take just one strand of my trap wire and it kind of helps set that lock if it pulls the drag back or something. But you might catch a lynx and he'll be laying there dead and he didn't even mess up your cubby. They die so fast.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of times that works good. You do have to be cautious with the amount of, and it depends on if you're farmland or if you're bush coyotes or whatever it is. The amount of fencing you try and do to corral that coyote in there, it may cost you, right? But it'll change on every situation you get into. That'll change. Like one situation you could fence, and you'll catch 10 of them. The next situation you go in and you start fencing, and you won't catch any of them, right? Yeah.
But it's hard here because there's no natural setup.
No, there's no natural setup. So, and I like this set. Like it's good. Like the biggest thing is we always got to make aware our snare size looping off the ground and stuff, and but the fencing, can be your best buddy. It could be your worst enemy, depending on the scenario you get yourself into, right? So.
It's really nice though, like Miles was saying, to try to make it so the deer will try to go around instead of through it. But what really changes it, what Jeff was just saying, sometimes things change, and what changes things is they're no different than us. They don't like going through that deep snow. And then once you get snow that's up to their belly, so once you get over a foot of snow, they're going to stay on those trails, so you got a better chance that they won't veer off of it because they don't want to go in it. Deep snow changes it. So.
Then you can get rid of a lot of that fencing.
Yeah, when the snow starts accumulating, the fencing, they're not going to wander through a foot and a half of snow. They're going to stay on their trail so you can get away without fencing. You know they're coming, right?
Leave enough wire here so you can raise it as the snow comes. Hang it up.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the windy country, you don't want anything to interfere, or you want it to drop right away, but sometimes like out here in Westlock, it seems to blow all the time. So sometimes just the wind will knock the darn thing. So you got to take just at the end of your wire and just give it a little bit of a tip up, so the wind doesn't. Not too much, but that's really annoying when you go out and you realize the wind's blowing a bunch of them.
40 yards on this block. Ties a little wire here. A little piece of that squirrel wire.
Okay.
And you open with that catalog right up. And then they don't freeze.
The other, one guy was telling us on the course that he has a dropper and he puts a drop of glycerin on his snare. I've never tried it, but with your snare tight, if you're doing a bait training setup, if you want 20 plays, you better have 40 to 50 snares in there. Remember that. You're not going to catch them on every one. Any questions on that, guys?
Sure, sure.
Just a cuddy Lynx snare. We put the one out front and the one around the sides. Tried to make sure they couldn't come in from the back. We put some sticks out front to try and keep his head up going in. Special bait.
Yeah, it's a
Special bait. Linesman pliers.
$29.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like 49.
Bought those at our store.
I guess you would probably use more spruce boughs and stuff if you're out in the bush, but to blind it in a little more, I guess. Cover up more.
That's good.
I wouldn't get too carried away with that. 'Cause as long as he can't get through there, or if he can't push his way through there,
Yeah,
he ain't going in there.
They don't like sticks in their face.
No.
Fisher will go through the side.
Not Lynx, no.
And I like the idea of a snare on the side. You know, like I definitely would be like in another setup. I'd be putting 3 or 4 of them around, because like we had mentioned earlier, they're cannibalistic, right? You catch a kitten or the old lady when she's dead and she don't freeze right away, the rest of them are going to come in. They're going to eat her.
The other lynx, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. The kittens, the babies will eat the mom, and the mom will eat the babies. They don't, or a tomcat. If it's not froze,
Just
they
no
don't like-
morality anymore, is there?
they don't like frozen food.
Uh-huh.
That's the biggest thing. They don't like to eat frozen food. If it's a fresh, dead lynx, they'll eat them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I like the sticks across. You know, even a couple of just the little ones straight up and down, just stepping sticks, like, you know. But that gets, and here again, you know, you put the lure in the back, stick straight up, you know, gob it on there. Make that the focus point, get them to dial into that, and not so much about what's hanging here. And get them to commit.
So, when
Yeah, I'd like, Ross, you got anything to add? I like that set. Yeah. That's one of my main sets I run on the line, is the Lynx cubby with the snares. And
So
3 or
you-
4 of them around it.
So you just picking almost any old spot that where the if lynx are in the area that you just will set, or are you looking for trails that they heavily use, or where the rabbits are heavily
A
traveling?
lot of times you're looking for where lots of rabbits are congregating.
Yeah.
If there's lots of rabbits, you'll have a lynx come through.
So so you got a patch of bush with lots of rabbit sign in it, and but you can choose almost any tree in that area that's suitable, right? You're not trying to put it on a rabbit trail itself or something like that, eh?
No, well you could, but I don't.
Yeah.
Catch the bunny.
Yeah, a lot of times the rabbits are hopping through there. You're going to hook the bunny by the head.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to have strung up.
Might
Catch
be
the bunny by the hind
counterproductive.
leg and you'll hear screaming, it'll curdle your blood.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that before. Yeah. It's
Like a bee.
just like a baby. Yeah.
Yeah.